Very special greetings to you all. I'm a little bit later this week because I wanted to make some changes and I didn't want to, send out this week's show until I made the changes. Well, I hope you all got to enjoy Purim, responsibly or not. And our reading and discussion is, of course, available at any time you feel like watching or listening. And I have had a lot of comments on it, some on its contents and suggestions, and I always appreciate the suggestions, and some on what I was wearing. Now, I was dressed as I am. I hide nothing. To quote a great movie, Richard Grieco, you see right through me. Well, you can all see through me. It's all there for you. I try and be congruent and conscious all the time. Give it a throw. You might like the results. Now, remember, friends, the story of Esther really was quite a tale of ancient feminism with the two opposite yet equal women portrayed, because it was as much a commentary on society and its views as anything portraying the projections we make about others, any and all others. So it's not an ancient story just by itself. It's also a modern one reflecting the world we live in. Now, I'd like to take this moment to send my deepest thanks to Terry and Sherry for their very kind donation. The generosity you show allows us to continue with our outreach and programs like the grief support groups. And speaking of programs, it was great seeing so many people the other night at our coffee shop throwback music and poetry reading evenings. Our feeble attempt to recapture those great days of the 60s and 70s of song and poetry and inspiration. And I am inspired by having had so many of you wanting to participate and sharing in this great group of fellow soul searchers coming together every week. This great community house of spirit, Beth Ruach. So let us come together, and please do go ahead and invite everybody you know, physically or spiritually, to gather and to share. From Psalm 133, the Hine Matov, come together. Hine Matov, Yachad, Hine Matov, how good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters together. Community, 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 together. Well, we are a community, my friends. We share our ups, our downs, our celebrations, our joys, our sorrows, our gains, our losses, our feelings, because it is a safe environment for us to do so. And I want to send birthday greetings out to Sharon. And I always knew your birthday meant that the first day of spring was right around the corner. And our first day of spring is right around the corner. We'll talk about that the next time. And thank you so much for your call, Alan. Now, here's somebody I have known, him and his family, for many, many years. He belongs to an Orthodox synagogue that I know. And he keeps asking me to do some kind of an iPod thing. And I keep telling him I will as soon as I learn about it, that I will do so soon. But it is these kinds of calls that mean so much to me. He never misses a show. And he called to tell me that my comments and suggestions are so different than what he grew up learning that he's begun going to a weekly Torah discussion group at the synagogue he belongs to in order to learn and to understand even more. Well, thank you for your words of encouragement. And there are many others who call or write to tell me that I'm helping them reconnect in a way they had never imagined, or that they are learning things that they never were taught before. Now, it's not just me. It's the energy of us all, so thank you all. But friends, we all keep on learning. Now, I've quite recently learned about snowflakes and nothing burgers, and I understand there's a move underway to stop using the pronouns that define gender, like he and her or she. And I also saw that the Association of Physics Teachers have started handing out little tickets to help people promoting Z and Zer. Now, I don't get those two. Now, why use two if you're trying not to distinguish and confuse things? And Z used to be a pretend foreign accent thing, so I don't know how it came to represent people. Now, we, and I'm not sure you can still say we anymore, but if people are so concerned about gender association, we have a pronoun that is neutral and not only will not offend genders, but would not offend non-human Just use it instead, and you'll not be insulting anybody, I guess. And you know what? You just can't make this stuff up. There's also, I understand, no more homecoming king and queen, but royals. And I understand California is beginning, to consider banning tag as a game. Now, I got to tell you, sometimes I think I'm Rip Van Winkle waking up to a new and different world, which reminds me of the Bob Dylan classic World Gone Wrong. And even if at times it does seem to have gone wrong, we should naturally come together for each other as an automatic thing, not just as a crisis or special occasion thing. So let us all together take a moment to express gratitude for what we each have. I renew spirit and energy with and for each other. To take time to be thankful for all the wonders of life. Our health, our happiness, our families, and our friends. The like-minded support and care we get, and the great love that envelops us all. And let us share that goodwill and love with those in need. And send a positive energy to help heal those in need of healing and help renew those in need of renewal. Remember that sending goodwill, love, peace, and thanks is such an easy thing to do, to transmit energy to everybody you know in need or want. Let us send out condolences to Bonnie, to Harvey, to Bobby, to Shelley, and others whose names I have not mentioned but do not include in my thoughts and my heart on the loss of their beloved sister Jackie. The loss of anybody we love, we are close to, we share life with, can have devastating effects as the fabric of our souls ends up torn and tattered. May her soul rest in peace beneath the wings of God in the Garden of Eden. It is a time that signals healing. So let us send out healing energy to all who need it. Think of those you know, for them, for Raul, for Mitch, for Archibald, for all of you, for love, for renewal, the kindness, healing wishes, goodwill, and love you all send out just circles the world, finding those in need. It never ceases. So thank you, each of you. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage, make our lives a blessing, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Well, Misha Barak, let us all have our spirits renewed. Now, this week, my friends, we will have the second last reading in Exodus, but it might as well be the last. The stories, save one, are over. The boring parts are coming. But this week, we do have the last of our stories, and it is found in tisa, when you add. Now, when you add really means do a census. And that will be the most important part of the book of Numbers, the book of the wilderness journey. It will begin and end with two different censuses. One kind of a waste and the other more important than you realize at first, but that's still several weeks away. For this week, what is interesting is we are about to undergo the real construction of all of the things we talked about, the tabernacle and its parts. And in order to do so, a very important group is singled out. No, not the Levites. Exodus 31:1 tells us that the artists are called forth. Bezalel is the first named artist in the Bible, and he is summoned by name by God. Now, some have taken the name Bezalel to mean in the shadow of God, Besalel. But it also intimates in the image of God, Besalem Elohim. And I think that's really more of what it's supposed to represent, because that's a term that actually comes from the creation story in Genesis 1:27. And so that phrase connects the beginning of Genesis with the end of Exodus and ties the two together. And I think those two can easily be read as one continuous book. Now, we're also told that Bezalel is filled with the Spirit of God. Now, friends, Spirit, Ruach, pervades everything in life. Art is necessary to life, to environment, to spirit, to ritual, to every aspect of creation. The artisans are now called to create the things previously described. We all need to examine and explore the artistic parts of us, which is why the throwback coffee house nights have been such a draw. We all have a gift, and we all need to explore those gifts. Art and science are on opposite sides of the tree of life, and we need to balance them both within us. Each of us has an artistic, ability. We just need to bring it back out. Now, in the midst of all of this, we get a clue as to what is really considered the most important of all of the things in the Bible. Exodus 31:13. This is when God is still speaking to Moses up on the mountain. And you speak to the children of Israel, saying, just. And just is a really powerful emphasis in biblical Hebrew. So just, you shall observe my Sabbaths, because it is a sign between me and you through your generations, to know that I, the Lord, make you holy. I remember first reading this and wondering, why just the Sabbath out of all the commandments? I missed it when I first read it. How do you know which word or which sentence? You never know when the things in this book are going to grab you. But we're told right there, because it is a sign between me and you. Okay, now we were told, the 613 commandments, if you have to break one, you would break it to not break any of the 10 commandments. And of the 10 commandments, we're now told, and we're told again and again later on, that the one to keep of them all is the Sabbath. So it's constantly being pointed to us. So why? Well, it's a sign between me and you. There were 4 covenants between God and man. The sign of the Noah covenant was the rainbow. The sign of the Abraham covenant is circumcision. The sign of the third of the 4 covenants, this one, the Israelite or the Mosaic covenant, whichever you want to call it, is the Sabbath. And a sign participates in the thing that it symbolizes. Now, they're pretty obvious with rainbows and circumcision. The Sabbath one is a little bit less obvious. The special place of the Sabbath in the creation of the universe marks it as having cosmic significance as well as historical significance. Now, combining the cosmic with history sets the history of human events that begins with Genesis 1 in the context of the very nature of the universe, and therefore it makes time holy. It's a time of the season when love runs high. In this time, give it to me easy, and let me try with pleasured hands to take you in the sun to promised lands, to show you everyone. It's the time of the season for loving. Now, that was probably the last time I paid attention to zombies. So this long list of holy objects that we've just been going through concludes with this particular reminder that periods of time are holy as well. Now, the Sabbath is so phenomenally important that a violation of the Sabbath bears an extraordinary punishment unlike anything else in the Bible. Now, humans are to cease on the Sabbath because God ceased creating on the Sabbath. And this now conveys that every one of you participates in this divine phenomenon. One cannot rest but still require his or her slave to work. One cannot rest but still count on non-Israelites in the community to do the work. It's for all man. Exodus 31:18. And when he finished speaking with him at Mount Sinai, he gave the 2 tablets of the testimony to Moses, tablets of stone written by the finger of God. And so God sending Moses back down, and he says to him specifically, tell the people the Sabbath is the thing. So we view the Sabbath as a queen, the queen of God. And we greet that queen every week in our preparation for the Sabbath, with all the beautiful ritual and blessings that the Sabbath entails. May the Lord protect and defend you. May God always shield you from shame May you come to be in Israel, a shining name. May you be like Ruth and like Esther. And don't forget, Ruth and Esther are very similar. May you be deserving of praise. Strengthen them, O Lord. Keep them from the stranger's ways. May God bless you and grant you long lives. May the Lord fulfill our Sabbath prayer for you. May God make you good mothers and wives. May He send you husbands who will care for you. The Fiddler Sabbath Prayer. I love that song. Now, if you do nothing else, my friends, try and observe the day of ceasing and honor it in your own fashion. We're about to see all of the elements of human life take effect. The doubt, the fear, the raw emotion of the unknown, it all takes over. The people see Moses as gone. He went up the mountain and he's not come back. So we have all the elements coming together in the making of the golden calf episode, Egel Hazahav. Now this is the real last story, and it is a beauty. What happens when doubt, when fear, when our inherent inclination, our evil hearts, takes over? Exodus 32:1. And the people saw that Moses was delaying to come down from the mountain, and the people assembled at Aaron and said to him, "Get up, make gods for us who will go in front of us, because this Moses, the man who brought us from the land of Egypt, we don't know what has become of him." Now notice that to them, not God, but Moses brought them from the land of Egypt. 40 days ago, they witnessed the epiphany. They stood on a mountain and saw and heard the words of God. And now, they forgot. Aaron takes their gold and fashions a golden bull for the people. It's really a bull. We pronounce it, we call it the golden calf. So I'll refer to it as the golden calf, but it was really a bull. Now, some of the great questions in the Bible surrounds this whole episode. Why did the people give up so quickly? Why did Aaron give in? Why was there no faith? And what did Aaron really mean when he built the bull but called for a festival to God? Was he just making a feeble excuse when he said he threw the gold in and the bull came out? Exodus 32:5. And Aaron saw, and he built an altar in front of it, and Aaron called and he said, "A festival to the Lord tomorrow." Now, I can only imagine that perhaps it was we had seen during the Epiphany, when fear just gripped the entire mountain. Now, some questions are harder to answer than others. And sometimes our answers are based purely on interpretations or misinterpretations. Now, notice that the Standard Translation, and I'm sure you're all reading Standard Translations, say what I said, and Aaron saw. Now, don't forget the word for "and Aaron saw" in biblical Hebrew, vayira, also has another meaning. See, in the original Hebrew text, before the vowels were added, it also meant, or could also mean, "and Aaron was afraid." Saw and afraid were the same word. Now that would make much more sense, and it would make it even clearer why he might have done what he did, and why he tried to redirect the worship back to God. Fear forced his action. He was afraid, so he built them their bull. Now, does fear still force you and your actions? It may in certain ways, and that's something you can think about as we come up on the Festival of Freedom from Fear. Now, he was not completely innocent in the matter of the golden calf, as we can see from the defense he offers Moses afterwards. Hey, it did it itself. I threw it in and it came out. But it may be that he is to be credited as a person who recognizes he made a dangerous mistake and tries to turn it into something good. And we all turn to our golden calf in times of stress, in times of unbelief, in times our faith in universal goodness and ourselves and God is weak. And often it too, to us, is gold. Material goods are probably the most common golden calf that we worship. Aaron was no different. His fear took him back to his old pattern beliefs. Fear and faith are twins that we've been following throughout this whole season. Now, in recognizing his own error and in trying to steer people who have gone wrong onto a different course, Aaron becomes an extraordinarily valuable model, and the story teaches an extraordinarily valuable lesson. Even when we've made a mistake, we can correct course. It is never too late. There's an interesting interplay between God and Moses, which we will see as a regular feature of their relationship from this point on. Exodus 32:7. And the Lord spoke to Moses, go down, because your people whom you brought up from the land of Egypt has corrupted. Okay, so God says Moses brought the people up from Egypt, but he always introduces himself to the masses as the one who brought the people up. It's like the parent telling the other parent, your child, not theirs. And Moses answers, why should your anger flare at your people, whom you brought out from the land of Egypt, throwing it right back in God's face? Could they get any more human in their interaction? So how could the people have committed the golden calf sin so soon after the revelation, within 40 days after actually hearing God speak from the sky? You know what? It just seems that when God is closest, that humans commit the greatest sin. Similarly, through the wilderness period to come, in which the people see miracles daily, they get manna, they get columns of cloud and fire, they are repeatedly rebellious. It appears that close proximity to divinity, to an all-seeing, all-knowing divine parent who's always watching, commanding, and judging, is barely tolerable for human beings. So Moses reappears from the mountain, and we learn more about the tablets. And the 2 tablets of witness were in his hand, tablets written from their 2 sides, written in both sides by God himself. Both sides. Now, how cool is that? We don't see that depicted very often. We see usually like Moses with the 2 tablets, and it's written all on one side. But we're being told it was on both sides of the stone, like both sides of the page. Now, these, unfortunately, were the ones that Moses destroyed by smashing them on the ground. Now, he probably could have used an anger management class or something, except there's also a good deal of evidence that in ancient Near Eastern times, smashing tablets on which a binding agreement was written was a legal act of abrogating the agreement. So this would also have been something familiar to the crowd. The Talmud tells us, like I say, of the 613 positive and negative commandments, the worst thing to do is to break one of the 10. And that if you have to break another one in order to not break the 10, go ahead and do it. But here Moses shatters them and breaks them all at the same time. Poor Moses. It's in a no-win situation. It is the curse of the prophet. You see, to God he represents humans, and to humans he represents God. It's a no-win situation for him. Poor guy. Well, the camp splits between faithful followers of Moses and non-followers or infidels. And a lot of people on the other's side die. The tablets are gone. So what does Moses do? He heads back up the mountain to get another set. Now, he did not know it yet, but he had to write the new ones himself. Now, I personally would have loved to have seen the God ones. Who knows what else was on them? Maybe his private cell number, but that we will never know. All we know now is this time God tells him to write. So we're hopeful that he took the dictation properly. And not since early Genesis have we seen this kind of an interaction between God and man. Exodus 33:11. And the Lord would speak to Moses face to face the way a man speaks to his fellow man. Now Moses is special because we're also told that he said, you won't be able to see my face because a human will not see me and live. Now, we all know that even to this day, we can't look upon the face of God. Now, we also are introduced to what will be Maimonides' famous attributes of God: merciful, gracious, slow to anger, kindness, faithfulness. So we get our first hint of that now. Now, the second set of commandments that Moses now writes out based upon the dictation appear here in Exodus 33:14 to 26. Now, 3 of them are similar to the commandments that appear in Exodus 20, the great Epiphany, the Decalogue. The commandment against bowing to other gods, against molten gods, the commandment to cease work on the seventh day. But the other 7 are just a little bit different from the 10 commandments that God speaks aloud over Sinai. Now, in critical biblical scholarship, we understand that these 2 versions of the Decalogue came from 2 different ancient sources. But how are we to understand them in the final form of the Torah as the Torah took shape? Well, the answer may lie in a second contradiction. In the first verse of this chapter, God tells Moses that I'll write on the tablets the words that were on the first tablets. So God's saying, I'll rewrite them. Now God tells Moses, write these words for yourself. Here's our contradiction that doesn't ever get discussed. Now, the majority of the first set, the Epiphany ones, are ethical commandments involving relations between humans and other humans. Don't murder, don't steal. The second set, as you read them, are really mainly ritual commandments. Observe the holidays, and much more emphasis there. Or perhaps, maybe God writes the words of the 10 Commandments on both the first and the second set of tablets, and Moses writes all of these other things on the other document. Unfortunately, we will never know. And then an amazing thing happens. And it was when Moses was coming down from Mount Sinai, and the 2 tablets of his testimony were in Moses' hand, when he was coming down from the mountain, and Moses had not known that the skin of his face was transformed when he was speaking with God. Now, friends, this leads to perhaps the single greatest mistranslation in the Torah, and a stereotype with grave consequences made so famous by Michelangelo. There's some question about the precise meaning of the verb karan, which only occurs here in this one spot. Now, the Greek translation and the Latin Vulgate famously understood it to mean sprouted horns, which come from karen, horn. It sounds like Karan, but it's not. It's a virtual impossibility because horns would grow from the head and not from the skin of the face. But that's the stereotype that's there now. Now, for the rest of the narrative in Exodus and in the next 3 books of the Bible, Moses is to be pictured wearing a veil. But friends, enlightenment has an effect, as it does on Moses. Do we not see people and they look different when they are at one, when they are at peace, when they are in love, when they are inspired? We look at somebody and say, wow, you look different. Well, the notion of divine radiance enveloping the head of the face of a god or a king or a priest appears in numerous Mesopotamian texts. So it's probably a bit of familiar idea to the ancient Hebrew audience. Well, we all shine on like the moon and the stars and the sun. We all shine on. Everyone, come on. Now we all do shine on. And his transformation, Moses becomes a living representation of the tabernacle. The veil that hides Moses' face is at the same time a visible indicator of the proximity of the deity. Well, the tabernacle is the visible shrine, confirmed by the appearance of God's cloud of glory that marks God's presence among the people. The fabrics of the veil and the tents give a tangibility to the channel of communication with the divine. And at the same time, they preserve the quality of mystery that we have seen to surround the whole knowledge of God. Yes, the world is sacred. So is everything in it. Express your gratitude, light a candle, make a wish. Celebrate your life and the lives of those you love and everybody else. Share your feelings with them. Live free, be free, honor your freedom, be well, be happy, and be blessed. Share it on in the light, and all who live in light continue to shine. Continue to send everybody you know goodwill and love. Pray for peace and freedom for everyone. An end to terror and hatred. Remember, friends, we are a community. We learn together, we celebrate each other, we love each other. We share this ride together, men and women equally. Send out love, not fear. Send out peace, harmony, good healing to all who need it. Please do learn to forgive. Learn to love. Open your hearts. Honor the relationships of your life. Tell those you love that you love them. Take advantage of the time you have. Enjoy the journey. Take the twists and turns and the patterns that weave through the fabric of our lives in our effort to grow, to learn, to be, to love. So please do love. Send healing, goodwill, and love to all who need it. Share your gift of healing. Now, bless you all. Have a fantastic week. A week of love and light, a week of peace. Get ready for spring with all its new opportunities. Honor the people of your life. Honor the journey you are on. Honor yourself. And friends, keep your eyes open to what you may not be seeing. Keep your ears open and listen to the world around you. Remember, we set in motion all that happens in our lives. Our intention, our cause, our effect, everything is linked. Now, as I've said, you always have time to forgive and to be forgiven. You do have that knowledge of what is good, what is bad. So acknowledge what you've done wrong to yourself, to God, to any person you have wronged, and ask forgiveness. Do so with sincerity, accountability, and vulnerability. Forgive those who have hurt you as you learn to be forgiving and be compassionate in life. Do not stop your journey. Do not stop moving towards your promised land. It is in sight. Keep on dreaming, keep on being, keep sharing, keep shining, keep teaching, keep spreading joy and goodwill. Do not follow fear. Follow love. It's always there in front of you. Remember to have faith, unwavering adherence to principle, just as I have faith in the principle of love and all of you. Now remember to act with purity of heart and mind. Despise none, defraud none, hate none. Cherish all. Honor every child of God, every creature of the earth. May all peoples know peace in this year, and may you nurture kindness and love everywhere. Work to be present in the body. Expand the heart. Quiet the mind. Because the deepest source of real power lies in consciousness and the ability to be present in all circumstances. Work on your intentions, my friends. Continue to believe in the magic of decency, of goodness, of humanity. Turn your dreams into your beliefs. Your beliefs are your reality. Learn to be congruent, to be yourself 24 hours a day. It is how you stay conscious. Let the sun shine. Let the sun shine in. The sun shining. Let the sun shine. Let the sun shine in. The sun shining. Well, yes, do let the sun shine, my friends, but the song actually has it wrong. The sun shines from within out, so let your sun shine out and light up the world. Give love, my friends. Embrace love, not fear. Forgiveness, not anger. Be there for someone because someone's always there for you, whether you know it or not. Now be happy, be healthy, be helpful, be kind, and be loving. And I look forward to seeing you all next time we celebrate spring. Until then, Shabbat Shalom and blessings to you all. Take care. Bye.